Well, good afternoon. I'm Father David. Thank you for joining me today for Disciple Time as we're moving into week 4 of our Lent. And I hope that so far you're enjoying your time of prayer and preparation for this coming time of Easter. And today, in our reading from Ezekiel, 47, we read about the angel showing Ezekiel a vision of the temple. And in that vision, water is seen coming from the east of the temple and flowing out. And the angel takes Ezekiel around the temple and measures out the water by 1,000 cubit increments, and then has Ezekiel walk through it one segment at a time until the river is too deep to pass through, at which point the angel says in Ezekiel 47 9 and 12, wherever the river flows, every sort of living creature that can multiply shall live, and there shall be abundant fish along each bank of the river. Every kind of fruit tree will grow. Their leaves will not wither, nor will their fruit fail. Every month they will bear fresh fruit, because the waters of the river flow out from the sanctuary. Their fruit shall be used for food, and their leaves for healing. Now, when I researched this, I found, according to the IVP Bible background commentary of the Old Testament, something very interesting about the water and the temple, and that is this: the association between ancient Near Eastern temples and spring waters is well attested. In fact, some temples in Mesopotamia and Egypt were actually built upon springs, which sometimes flowed from the building itself. Thus, there was this built in symbolism of the cosmic mountain temple standing upon the primeval waters and bringing forth life. So, in Ezekiel's vision, this is exactly what the angel is revealing, that from the temple of the Lord, a life giving river would spring forth, and it would make unclean seawater fresh and drinkable, and it would bring abundance of fish, abundance of fruit, and it would not only sustain life around it, around the temple, it would flow out, and everywhere it flowed, there would be life. And the very leaves springing forth from the trees on its banks would be used for healing. They'd be used for medicine. There would be abundant fish and fruit, enough to sustain life all around. So we have like a flow of life-giving water capable of cleansing what is unclean. It's capable of nourishing, and it's capable of healing. And I kind of want to just repeat that about this life-giving water that's coming from the temple. It is capable of cleansing, it's capable of nourishing, and it's capable of healing, right? So we got to kind of keep that in mind as we skip ahead to our New Testament reading for today from the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verse 1 through 16, because we see that just outside the temple in Jerusalem, there's a spring with water in it. And there's all these people waiting for the nourishment and healing that was talked about in the book of Isaiah. They're waiting for this cleansing, and this is right outside the holy temple of God, right? So people are coming from miles around, and they are setting their sick in this area. They're bringing the unclean, the maimed, those that are paralyzed. They're putting them beside the water because people believed that the waters, as they were stirred, had this healing property, right? And so we read in John 5, 5 through 6, one man was there who had been ill 38 years when Jesus saw him lying there. and knew that he had been ill for a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be well?" And the man gives him the sob story about not being able to get in the water. But then we read in John 5:8-9, Jesus said to him, "Rise up, take your mat and walk." And immediately the man became well, took up his mat and walked. So, what do we take away from this? I think it's quite clear for me today, the way I'm perceiving this today, and that is that the life-giving river in Ezekiel's vision is not literal, right? I think the man who waited by the pool for the water to be stirred for 38 years is proof of that. The life-giving river is not some actual river flowing from the east of the temple. The life-giving river is God's grace flowing through the Holy Spirit, flowing through Christ who cleanses us. It's God's grace that nourishes us. It's God's grace that heals us, heals our souls and spirits in the journey of life, right? Through his great work of grace within us. And I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves, right, of what Paul said in 1 Corinthians 6:19, where we read this, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God?" So not only is the literal, the river not literal, right? Neither is the temple a literal temple. The temple is you and I. And everyone who recognizes that their own body is the temple of the Lord kind of has the potential then to realize that God's grace can be like a river, alive within them in a very transformative way. And not only will that God-given grace bring them the cleansing and bring them the healing and nourishment that they need, but once or as that process is going on and as that grace overflows forth from us, heading away from our temple, right? Just like the river in Ezekiel's vision, we too can be channels of that grace to bring cleansing to others, to bring nourishment to others, to bring healing and love to others. And so what is our application today? I think it's this: recognize God's Spirit and God's grace. His love is at work within you. And maybe as that's happening and you're going through that transformative process, also try to be a channel of that grace and love for other people. And what a healing thought that can be as we're entering into our 4th week of Lent here. Well, thank you for joining me today. I pray that you have a good week. Bye-bye.